Hello, Star Wars fans. Hey, there's 351 days until Christmas 2021, and we are continuing our Thursday Star Wars chats with Imagic Maker from Reimagining Star Wars. And right before the end of the year, Imagic Maker got a chance to take his family down to Disney World, and they went and visited Galaxy's Edge. And in the last couple of days, there's been some chatter going around on different YouTube channels and Twitter and what have you that Disney theme parks might be retconning Galaxy's Edge to change the theming from the sequel trilogy to Mandalorian. And rather than having sequel trilogy characters like Rey and Kylo and Vimerati, that you might get Mandalorian characters, meaning Mando himself and Cara Dune, those kind of folks wandering around. And so I thought, a Magic Maker just came back from there. Let's get him on. Let's get your thoughts and let's discuss what could happen, what's likely to happen, what's not likely to happen, and see where this thing goes. So first of all, just to say hello to everybody who's here. We know Lord Vito stopped in earlier. Thank you. Hope you're still around. And Mandalore the Reclaimer, in taking classes. So got to attend school. So hopefully you're able to drop in at some point. Park Outdoors, welcome. No, you haven't been here, but good to have you here today. And Will Morgan, I shall return. Great. We'll see you soon. And Dale. So that's why Black Spire was never even mentioned in the sequel trilogy. Maybe it was never intended for a direct connection. Black Spire is mentioned in a couple of the novels. They actually go there in one of the Thrawn novels, and it shows up in one of the Leia novels as well. So one of them that has Leia in it. Plus, there's a couple of Galaxy's Edge themed books. So. All right, so all of that introduction, a Magic Maker, what do you think?
Well, hello everyone. Happy New Year. So I don't consider anything they do as far as changes to be retcons, but I do think they always update. If anybody has ever been to Hollywood Studios when it was just Star Tours, then after that they added the Jedi temple there so that kids could go in there and become Jedi and do their training and face their dark cave, which first was Vader, and then it became Vader and Kylo Ren and Vader and first it became Vader and a Inquisitor, and then it became Vader and Inquisitor or Kylo Ren. And so they're just updates, and there are all these different things that they do. So do I see Galaxy's Edge being updated to include the Mandalorian? Of course. I mean, that's an inevitability. They're going to add their pieces of Star Wars that they have. And the reason why, I know people wanted it to be, Galaxy's Edge to be the original trilogy, but you have that. So like when you went to Hollywood Studios originally, and you went to Star Tours. Well, what is it? It's indoor. And it's a big, AT-AT at Walker, and so you get that right off the bat. And if you go into Star Tours, you go through every period. So you might be in the prequel period when you go through Star Tours. You might be in the original period when you go through Star Tours. You might be in the sequel period when you go through Star Tours. So there's all these different goes, and trust me, when we went, the line for Star Tours was only about 20 minutes. So we went through multiple times, and I've never seen Star Tours that short. That said, if you want to do the Rise of the Resistance ride, you better get your ticket registered several days in advance and get yourself onto the wait list. And they only fill up the morning via remote, and then you have to get there super early, and then they'll open up the second half for the day. So if you either didn't get in there by remote way early, then you have to be there like among the first people in line to get inside the park if you want to get in after 2. That's just the way it is. So and the line for Smuggler's Run is around the entire part of Galaxy's Edge. Like we wrapped around Galaxy's Edge and into the Toy Story land. So I mean, it's the most popular part of Hollywood Studios still. So I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Hey, just to acknowledge some folks that have joined us here. Timsterbot made it in. Good to see you, Timster. And we also Gray, our regular. Appreciate you being here, Gray. Thank you so much. And Callisto, welcome. And I saw there's XR Coon. I know pinged me before. I think XR, you're in classes today as well, or something like that, right? No, I need to have Will Morgan on for Easter. Oh, that does make sense. So with the Meta Egg reviews, that would be great. Would enjoy that. And Bert the Nerd, hey, they touching Galaxy's Edge. Look, I don't. Just a couple of things about that. So again, just as a reminder for folks, you went down to Orlando to Disney World. And so if anybody's just confused about that, Leia, you're here again. Good to see you again. Hey, welcome. Okay. So XR Coon's taking a final. Oh, pay attention to your test there, XR Coon. That's the deal. So let's get a TV series where Hondo survives literally everything possible. Tim Turner, welcome. Good to see you guys here. So one thing that's very, very popular at Disney World as a whole, or Disney theme parks as a whole, are character encounters.
Absolutely.
And you can schedule breakfasts with princesses, or you can go to dinner with characters, right? You can go to these character dinners, and they're meandering around while you're eating dinner, and they're talking to kids in character and giving autographs and things like that. And also, there are all kinds of places where you can encounter the characters sort of in their environment. So if you want to go see Ariel in her grotto, right? So if she's back in there, you can go visit Cinderella at the castle and all of these things. So right now, and I guess as you were saying, they're not really there's not really character encounters.
Yeah, there's no character interactions right now. They so like we go there every other year. So this is our normal year to go to Disney World, and I tried to time it to where there'd be nobody there. I mean, and so I was trying to take advantage of that fact, and but that just it was actually it was busier than I thought, and from what I understand now, Disney's kind of pretty much gone to full capacity inside Disney World because Florida's allowed it. So I mean, they're probably pretty packed there now. But even so, we were trying to take a time in which it was, we usually try to go when it's going to be sort of like October or, December before that period. Because there are weeks where it's super busy. But normally we schedule all these princess visits. And now, Vega's gotten older. But when she was younger, she dressed up like all these princesses. We would have a specific day where we would go and she would dress up like all those princesses, and that's what we would do. I mean, so she'd literally go take a picture with every one of them at every park, and then after she was done with our, we get all this, because that actually took a lot of time to get all these things done. Because my wife wanted to dress her up as every princess, so you can see how crazy it can get, and so that would take time. So yeah, that's where that was, and so, but right now that's not really existing.
Right. So I bring that up because right now Galaxy's Edge is themed around the sequel trilogy. You've got the Falcon right there in the middle. It's a centerpiece. It's a major photo shot for folks. It's a big place to be. I can't see them. First of all, the Falcon doesn't exist in the Mandalorian timeline that we've seen. Right, it's not a crossover into the show. It certainly exists in the timeline, right? It was in the prequels all the way through the original and the sequels. So it exists out there somewhere, but we've not seen it appear in the Mandalorian itself. So that presents one issue to retheming it, rather than being sequel themed to being Mandalorian themed. And my question is, yeah, I think you can still do character encounters without retheming it. And you mentioned Star Tours, for example, and the last time we went down there, there's a building you could go in, and there were different characters you could go get pictures with. You kind of wrapped yourself around, and you could go get a picture with Kylo Ren, or you could get a picture with Darth Vader, or whatever. And those characters changed out from time to time. And certainly Darth Vader and Kylo Ren being in the same building together is problematic. But character encounters are one thing, and retheming the park is another. So let me just throw that out there. What do you think about retheming the park to Mandalorian versus providing some Mandalorian character encounters once that starts up again? Oh, he's muted. He's muted or he's gone. So that's my point is, I think that oh yeah, he's muted. I think he had a phone call come in. So we'll let a Magic Maker take his call. No, I think that you can absolutely keep Galaxy's Edge sequel themed, and because so much of the big attractions there, like the Falcon, there's also a First Order ship that Kylo Ren comes out of. So those are large vessels that either need to be crossover into Mandalorian to make it make sense, and then you would have to add perhaps some other vehicles in there to kind of theme it. But I don't see why you couldn't have character encounters include Din Djarin and the child, all right, Grogu, without retheming the park itself. And Gray, retheming sounds good to me. I just don't know how plausible it is. There's the Ride of the Resistance, that Rise of the Resistance theme ride is a multi-million-dollar attraction. And I can't see them retheming that without dumping in tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. So I don't know. You're back, Magic Maker.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had a really important phone call. You were right on that, and I really didn't hear anything you talked about because I was fully on that.
Park Outdoors. I want to ride a blurg at Galaxy's Edge. That would be a fun thing to do in the bar, right? Like instead of bull riding, you have blurg riding, right?
Yeah, they should do that. Totally, blurg riding. That'd be a lot of fun. I think I heard a little piece of the last bit when we were talking about retheming the entire park.
Right.
They're never going to retheme the entire park. They will not do that. It will not happen. There's no absolute. I mean, I've seen it. I've gone there. I know what it is. It is a lot of fun, even for where it's set. You know, and I get it that you don't get to walk through Tatooine completely, but the park is not that big. I mean, it's not like you're walking through all of Hollywood Studios and every piece is a different land. Right. You know, it's 2 rides. You know, I mean, that's it, and a few places to go. I mean, they have a lot of different little things that keep the flavor of it, but it's not. I mean, so like when you walk around there, and just to give you perception, I mean, you have the old pieces that weren't even together before. So you have the old pieces were the Star Tours, which is the old ride that they had, which is been around since the 80s, and it was just set with the OT motif. I mean, you literally, like I said, it's like being an indoor. You have an AT-AT, and then right around the corner you have a little place that's like Tatooine with a speeder bike, mm-hmm. and then you have to walk, across the park to get to where the Jedi Temple is. And so, I mean, they're not even together. So, I mean, this idea that they're going to retheme this whole park and redo this whole thing is absolutely nonsensical. So what they're going to do is they're going to update it over time, and they'll add pieces like the Mandalorian. Of course, they're going to do that because he's popular. Once they're allowed to start having characters roam through the crowd, that's exactly what they'll do. So the Mandalorian will walk through the crowd, but you're still going to have Rey walking through the crowd. Little girls love Rey. My daughter still loves Rey. She still dresses up like Rey. She's 11 years old and she wants to see Rey. That's not going to go away.
Yes.
I'm sorry if you hated Rey. I'm sorry if you don't like her. I don't personally really like her very much. I think she could have been a much better character. That's why I'm upset with her. Not because she's Rey. I just think she could have been a better character. And I know you identify with her tremendously, but for me, there's an aspect to her that I do not identify with. But that's not true for everyone.
No,
and so
there's lots of great YouTube videos on there of little girls meeting Rey in the park, and they're great.
And that was my daughter.
Yeah, little girls dressed up like Rey who meet Kylo in the park, and they're great. You go out there and look at those YouTube videos; they're adorable. And so I just don't know that. And I tend to agree with you. I don't see them retheming the entire park, the Galaxy's Edge, to be Mandalorian and remove the sequel trilogy aspects. I don't think, for one, it's feasible. Secondly, as you have mentioned, and our family tends to go down to Disney World every few years as well, 2 to 3, maybe 5 years. It varies depending on what's going on in our lives, but. And we've been kind of waiting. I'm dying to go down to Galaxy's Edge, but we'll wait until the pandemic's over. We can go down and enjoy character greets and stuff like that. So, but it's like Star Tours is not at the same. They're not connected, right? So you're at Walker.
Well, they're pretty close. Like you walk around Star Tours and you're right in Galaxy's Edge. So if you remember going down there, you had Star Tours. And then you had the little Tatooine, little thematic area right behind Star Tours.
Yep.
Well, right on the other side of that piece, you walk into Galaxy's Edge. So it's pretty close. So, I mean, but if you remember that the only part that wasn't part of that was the Jedi Temple. That was over on the other side. Then you had a place where you met the launch pad, if I remember it correctly, which was on the other side. And is where you met Kylo Ren and Chewbacca on the other side.
I don't know that you could have, like, the Mandalorian. It takes place so many different places, right? He's bouncing around from planet to planet, and not really. What are you going to do? You're going to set it on which pick a planet. Where are you going to put it? Are you going to put the Razor Crest in there? The Razor Crest was blown to bits. Spoiler warning. But it's just.
He'll get it back. He's got pieces of it. He's been collecting the pieces.
Well, it turns out the Razor Crest is a model, not a ship. So it's like, it's not like the Falcon is that particular version of that ship. It would be as if the Falcon was the model, and then you had different iterations of it. So
instead of a Corellian YT-1300 as we know it to be.
Yeah. So right. So the Razor Crest is the same as your Corellian YT-1300, right? That's what it is. So he could go get a 1302 or something, whatever.
That's right. But I mean, it would be like him, like instead of calling Boba Fett's ship Slave One, you call it the Fire Spray.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. So we've got I absolutely think they'll have character encounters. And I know if you go over to there was another place where like stormtroopers go marching through, and you would have Phasma leading a troop of stormtroopers going through there, and then she did a little show where
that still happens. Actually, they do still have the parades through there, so that still happens.
Yeah, so I don't see why. I agree with you. I think you'll absolutely have some sort of Mandalorian themed thing that will happen, but I don't think they're going to retheme Galaxy's Edge to be Mandalorian and remove the sequel trilogy elements out of it.
Right. What they'll do is they'll begin to update it. So as they make changes to and update the theming within Galaxy's Edge, they will take some pieces out. Like, for example, there's a piece over there but there's a bunch of speeders.
Yep.
And one of those speeders is Luke's speeder from Tatooine, right?
Yes.
And whatever model it is, I can't remember the name of the model, like type model. But so you'll go over there, and so what you'll see is that the next time that gets painted, it'll be painted like the speeder was that our what the blue guy and Mandalorian was. Yeah. So our Mithril has, right? And so I guarantee you it'll get painted to be something like that. So now they've updated it. It's changed. Hey, we have our Mandalorian themed, thing. Maybe they won't, because maybe they don't want to get rid of Luke's, speeder.
Right.
But they'll may change out one of the other ones to be that one. Let's just say there's 3 speeders there.
Yeah, or they'll just carve out another section. It's a walkway or something now, and retheme it.
Right, they'll start adding some pieces here and there.
Yeah,
that's the kind of the point I'm getting to. I mean, maybe the Jedi Temple or some portion of the temple on the hill becomes the Seeing Stone or something like that. You'll start seeing these little set pieces start to be placed, and so. But what you're not going to see is them throw everything out. But that said, Hondo's the Smuggler's Run with Hondo could be, if we see Hondo show up in the Mandalorian, that would not surprise me one iota. And so then we see the ride with Hondo be connected through almost every series, right? And so that would not be too super shocking to me to see that occur, and so they can tie like everything together. So we know when we go into Smuggler's Run, and we see Hondo, we don't know if it's is this prequel Hondo? Is this Rebels Hondo? Is this Mandalorian Hondo?
Right.
I mean, so we don't know, and that I could see that them tie those pieces together, so that becomes your theme, and maybe they change his dialogue where he says. You're going to meet up with a Mandalorian, and we have this little piece come into the ride. And so, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that very much. So I could see that update occur, but because the Smuggler's Run could be at any period of time. And it's not set specifically in the sequel trilogy. So you don't know when that exactly is. I could see them making some changes to Black Spire and the aspect of that. But I mean, who knows? Maybe in the 3rd season of Mandalorian, we go to the Black Spire. Who knows?
Oh yeah, because, I mean, it's there, right? So, and right now, the Black Spire, it exists in canon in all 3 eras. So, I mean, there's nothing preventing the Black Spire from, from the Mandalorian crossovers, frequenting there. You could even in some of these other squadrons and others, they could end up going to Black Spire. So, Burke, but I'm behind them retheming and retconning if they plan on making a Star Wars park. Look, I think I shared before, I personally, just for me, and I know that it would never happen, it could never happen, but I would have loved them to redo all of Epcot, make the Epcot ball a great big Death Star, make the ride through there like you're going through the Empire, like, and have little scenes going on in there, and have each of the worlds that you go around through Epcot be a different world in Star Wars, and you could visit all these different eras and worlds that way. That would be ideal, an Epcot type event or a park where you could visit all these places. That'd be great for Star Wars fans. That's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's too many other stuff that goes on there. I mean, I see that if anything, what they'll do is they'll begin updating all the princesses to align with the different countries that you go to inside of Epcot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. That's kind of what they started doing anyway. Because like if you go to the Morocco area, that area, that's Jasmine and what
you go to like Sweden, Norway,
it's Elsa,
and then you've got in Great Britain you can go see Mary Poppins.
That's right. It's Mary Poppins and Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I do think that they could keep adding more. So that, like Dale put, themes could be crossed. I don't see why you dump Vi and others. Maybe not Kylo. Right? I don't think they're going to dump any of them.
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, I think like when we got there was only one show, and that show was with Kylo Ren and the Stormtroopers, and he is darn funny. I mean, like he's having these conversations, and it's just set things that he has to say, and he looks at people, and people say what they're saying. He has a a rote memorized response that he's allowed to say, and whatever. And so I mean, and to me, it's pretty incredible because it tells me that he's had to memorize a script that's probably 100 lines long, and he has to, and he's been given the response that he has to give for every kind of question, and he has to go through it and kind of pick the right, and it's exactly the same thing every time. Like I sat and watched it when it began, and watched him give that response to a similar to a question, and then watched it toward a different period of time when I was there, and see that the response was to a different question but the same answer, and so it's definitely a rote response. But it's funny the way they do it. I mean, it's really funny.
I got to do a character encounter with Kylo. You see, I put it up on the screen. This is Santa giving Kylo the cross eye there. He was, he was giving us crap when we were there as well. On my shirt you could see Chewie and R2, and so he picks up on little things like that, and then gives people crap about it. It's great. It really is a great experience.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send you some pictures with Little Ren, and the reason why he's Little Ren is because he literally dressed up like Kylo Ren, had the full regalia when his big sister was dressed up like Rey, and so they went in. Actually, that time she was dressed up like Vega. That's when she got her. She was in her Mandalorian and stuff. Nice. And that was pretty awesome because that day they went in there. We had the full regalia for Little Ren and full helmet and everything. And he's all super excited because he gets to do this. She has her full Mandalorian, and we went right past all the line, right to the front. And,
they did the same with me. When they saw that I was Santa, they're like, come with us. And they took us around back and took us straight through, and we went straight into Kylo Ren. Well, I mean, there was no wait. We just walked straight in. Yeah. So sometimes it's advantage to have Santa in your group.
Yes.
Leia asked, the money would be there from the fans. There would certainly be money, and I think specifically saying if they were to re-theme it, dump all the money in there to completely gut it and redo it. I just don't see that happening.
I'm of the opinion, and I know you disagree with me. I'm of the opinion that Disney has not yet recouped all their what they've put into Star Wars yet. And I mean, they purchased plus $1 billion in this, plus all the things they put into making these things. Now, I'm not saying they're not getting close, but I don't think they've recouped it all yet. And so their return on investment, they're planning a return on investment in this next decade that'll more than make up for what their investment return was in the first decade.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're going to go in and do revamping and put the money into that, unless they think that return on investment is going to be to meet that new expenditure. So, and they're especially not going to do it right now during COVID.
Yeah, I think Mike Porter's right on. Right, they have a small section for Mandalorian. We kind of talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll start putting those in there. I mean, I'm not saying they won't do that. I mean, like I said, they'll do some revamping of certain things, but they are not going to retheme that whole thing. They'll add a piece maybe in the Rise of the Resistance that turns into, maybe a Mandalorian ride. I would expect to see that actually more in Star Tours, as you see a Mandalorian version inside Star Tours. So now you have 4 versions versus 3. I would expect to see a Mandalorian version inside Smuggler's Run. I mean, that's my expectation. I don't think Rise of Resistance itself is going to. I think they're going to keep it. You know, and I don't think. I mean, and this is why I think ultimately as much as people want a new world to come along and wipe out the sequel trilogy and the Filoni-verse to be an alternate timeline, it's not happening. And I mean, I think at best what you can ask for as a Lucasian, of the sequel trilogy, and where they add scenes, remove scenes, redo some scenes, add new people, add new things. Like maybe in the new Force Awakens, it's no longer the traitor stormtrooper. It is Captain Phasma.
Right.
And so that would be an example of a scene that I would love to see get Lucasianated.
So just to let folks know, Magic Maker has kind of coined the term. It's like George Lucas when he went back to the original trilogy and like added the scene with Jabba the Hutt, or changed words, added in the famous McClunky, right? Mm. So when he's saying Lucasian, he means George Lucas treatment of the originals, to do that to the sequels where you might alter a scene after the fact and that kind of thing. So, and Burke, the nerd, he's been commenting like, and as Mike did as well, there's certainly room to add little bits and pieces in Hollywood studios, or to take some of the less trafficked areas and retheme them to Star Wars, and remove some of the older rides or sections that aren't drawing people. And if they see a big demand for Mandalorian, they're more likely to carve out a section and make a Mandalorian like greet area. The other thing is, as you mentioned, all they have to do is have Black Spire show up in season 3 or season 4, and then you could have at 2:00 from 2 to 4 is Mandalorian, from 4 to 6 is the sequel trilogy, right? Like, and the characters swap out. So right. you want to come
absolutely.
You want to come and see Din Djarin and Cara Dune and Greef Karga. Well, come between 2 and 4, right? And there'll be different shows that go on, and then at 4 it'll change over like that.
Right, and they have a stage there, just like they do everywhere else there. I mean,
exactly.
and if you're there at night, they have a shows, and once they go back to full time and start having, they're open till 10, 11 at night, and then you'll start seeing those shows, those light shows occur again, and they'll add the Mandalorian to it. It's not, as much as I would love to see everything redone. It's not. I mean, the same way that people want to see the prequels redone, it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
And right. That said, now if people would be down for Disney redoing all 9 of them, say in 2030,
right?
And Disney goes, I think we can make a $500 billion if we do this. Yeah. Don't think that Disney won't do it. I mean, it's like if anything, they're waiting for Lucas to kick the bucket so they can redo them all.
Or release the original theatrical cut, right?
They'll do that, and then they'll remake them.
That movie's coming. The second, it'll be a big tribute to George Lucas and his honor and memory, and it'll have his signature stamped on it, and they'll release the theatrical cut. It'll cost you $150 to get it, and we will all go buy it.
Well, by then, with inflation, it'll be like $580.
Leia said they should take notes from Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal. Oh, that world over there is fantastic. Yeah, and I think that they're trying to do that. They just haven't quite gotten there. But I do think that Galaxy's Edge is a step in that direction. And then Anthony asked a question. Do you know if rumors are true with how unsuccessful Wonder Woman 84 was? They might cancel Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie. I don't think so, Anthony. Wonder Woman 84 is getting a lot of negative reviews from some fans, but just my own opinion, I thought it was okay. Not as good as the first one, but it was all right. Something I'll watch again. But there are also other stories about some interference that she had in the storytelling and the storyline itself. And so I don't think you can lay all of Wonder Woman 84 at Patty Jenkins' feet, nor do I think that it's the hot mess that some people make it out to be.
I mean, DC is notorious for messing up their directors. So.
yeah. And so I think Warner Brothers had a hand in it. And just that little trailer bit, I saw Patty Jenkins talking about how her dad was a pilot, uh, served in the U.S. military, and died in service to our country as a pilot, and how she's been wanting to do a fighter pilot kind of movie to honor her dad, and this opportunity to make Rogue Squadron movie that tribute to her dad and put it in the Star Wars universe has me super pumped for it. And I really don't see them canceling her as the director for that movie.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. I mean, still, even with the story issues, it was still, cinematographically, it was still beautiful that way. I mean, it wasn't a bad shot film by any means.
And Trinity, welcome. Good to have you here. Yeah, and it was it had comedy. It was good. It was entertaining. There's some issues, but other than that.
I mean, I went to see a flick. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be, Godfather. I knew what I was getting. It was. I mean, there's a certain level of what superhero movies surprise me more than. I mean, normally I just get what I expect. So I mean, it's not like I don't expect superhero movies to be profound. It's just that sometimes they are. And. So if you go in there with the expectation that every time you go to a superhero movie it's going to be profound, well, I hate to tell you, you're going to be more disappointed than rewarded.
So like Scorsese, right? Scorsese.
Yeah, you're not going to get that. Yeah.
Superhero movies are not Scorsese type movies. Yeah.
No, exactly. And occasionally they have something profound in them. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, we've had some good movies. I'm not saying that we haven't. It's not. You're going to get it less often if you go there than you would otherwise. I mean, it's so I think going into these films with expecting it to be just because the first one was really good and done really well, that you expect the same thing without any issues, then I think you're going to be disappointed. And so from my perspective, it gave me what I wanted. I didn't go in there expecting the same thing that I saw in the first film. I expected to see a decent superhero movie, and I did. And I mean, for that matter, I went and saw, Monster Hunter. I laughed through the entire film. It was a great flick. I mean, but I didn't expect to go in there and go, oh, this is the best movie ever. Right. It was silly in parts. It was dumb in parts. It was good in parts. And I went, worth my money. I was just happy to be able to sit in a theater this over the holidays. Really.
Well, that's true. But Park Outdoors, Galaxy's Edge, at Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge and Star Tours is across the park. Disneyland has some space issues. Like they are really kind of squeezed in there. And so I think the argument to have Mandalorian stop at Black Spire Outpost in season 3 would be a tremendous one, right? That would just be a smart thing to do. And they have every capacity to do that. Why not? They could have done it in season 2. He could have met with Bo-Katan at Black Spire.
Yep.
That would have solved a lot.
It would have solved a lot. I mean, Park Owners talk about hatchable frog eggs that you can eat there at the park.
Oh,
and so I was thinking about that. I was like, actually, what you do is you have a drink cup that looks like it, and then you put little bulbas in it that you can eat. That would actually solve that entire. That would be it. That's it right there. That's it in a nutshell.
Oh yeah. So a park outdoors have planets be like set pieces that rotate out. Yeah, I
don't see that working there.
I don't see it working either, but I could see having each of the pieces have stops at Black Spire. And like I mentioned, it already appears in a couple of the other novels that put it in the prequel era, where Anakin, for example, is going to rescue Padme, and she's at Black Spire, and he's doing that with Thrawn.
Right.
So, he and Thrawn go there, and then Anakin, Darth Vader. So in that book, Thrawn is remembering the time he went there with Anakin, but he's going there now with Darth Vader.
Right.
And Thrawn is making the association. I think this dude's that dude, right?
It's clicking.
Yeah, it's clicking. So we have Anakin and Padme could be at Black Spire. It's contextualized in canon now. You could also do that with Vader. It's contextualized, and you can do it with Thrawn. So I could absolutely see them having different parades through there at different times, or different character themes at different times at Black Spire. You don't have to re-theme it at all. You just set aside segments of the day that are set aside for each of the different eras, and you swap out the characters and the story. And
I think the main issue you have regarding Black Spire is that we don't see it in any visual canon, and so I think that here's the crazy thing is that it's going to show up. I'm almost certain at this point in time it's going to show up in The Mandalorian. And then they'll say, "See, they retconned it for The Mandalorian. That'll be the claim." And so they'd be like, "No, they just put it in a visual media, which was The Mandalorian."
Yeah,
and
then they'll have the characters there, and it'll be a portion of the day, like I said, 2 to 4, 1 to 3, whatever. They'll have a show, and they'll come through, and they'll be shooting it up and doing whatever. Have you ever been to Tombstone, Arizona? My wife and I, we took the family down there, and they do a shootout to OK Corral reenactment all the time. Right. You can do some sort of thing like that, and Mando's going through there shooting at something, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I completely see that, like, in a parade. I mean, so, like, if you've ever been there at the evening show where they do the full show, they do a full show, they reenact little parts of it. And they were doing this with Captain Phasma, and they had Boba Fett show up, and Darth Vader, and they do all these different things. So that same thing will occur where they'll do a little parade, and then I don't know, Moff Gideon will show up, and there'll be a shootout, and they'll fight it out with the spear and Darksaber, and then boom, it'll end, and the parade will continue on, and they'll vanquish Moff Gideon, and
Cara Dune will take him off in handcuffs,
and then they'll continue the parade, and so that you'll reenact the scene. So I mean, and so we don't know when that's going to happen, or maybe there's some other meeting that'll occur on on the Black Spire, and they'll reenact that scene. So I mean, it's. That is almost inevitably coming, and why wouldn't they do that? Again, what I talked about is that Disney's in this to make money.
Yep.
They are not. It's not like Disney went out into the sequel trilogy saying, "Let's see how many fans I can piss off with this."
Right. And, let's try to. You know what? We have a problem. The fandom is just way too big. We need to make it smaller.
We really hate all the money that George Lucas has made that's caused us to spend $4 billion on this, and we would like to cut that in half.
Right, Anthony. It says there's expansion land next to Galaxy's Edge behind Hollywood Studios. They could absolutely use. The problem is, so Disney World. There's plenty of land to expand things.
Sure.
Disneyland is another problem if they want to keep up with them there. But there's no reason they have to keep them up together, but they absolutely could. They talk about having a place where maybe Ahsoka's there.
Right.
The Ahsoka spinoff show is coming. She could be a Black Spire as well. Here's what I think we've made this clear. Expect to see Black Spire show up all over the place. That's how they do.
There is openings in Galaxy's Edge that could easily be that right now is all just storage areas where trucks come in and things like that as they're unpacking food or whatever that they use behind there. So and like when we went in there, it was open, so like we could have walked back through there, but they were using it to direct lines since everybody was had to stay 6 feet apart. Yep. And so it's just an open area, but we were standing back there, and I was like, wow, they could totally use this for a new area. And so yes, will they expand it? almost certainly they will expand it, but they're not going to do it until they get their money out of what they've done. And once that happens, they'll take that new profits, they'll invest it into expansion area, and as the story expands, so will Galaxy's Edge. It may not out in Disneyland, but in Disney World it will. I mean, they by all means it will. I mean, they're redoing everything. I mean, it's like, they are always updating pieces of the parks. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, I've been there. I remember what it was like when I was a kid, and now I'm taking my children there, and we experienced that whole thing. I mean, my children have gone far more times than I did as a child. But that said, that is the case. And when we take our grandchildren in 20 years,
Yep.
maybe, then that it'll be different and updated then as well. And so we'll see where that is, and where that's going to fall out. But I mean, change is inevitable. Things will happen. We'll see. Are we going to see updates to the sequel trilogy? Of course we will. Will they retcon the entire thing and make it as if it went away? No, they won't.
Right.
They'll
put a comment there. The reasons they did the sequel trilogy the way they did will become clearer and clearer. Absolutely. I think as they develop out the Filoniverse and they put more contextualization around it, it will become more clear and it'll be more accepted. In 20 years from now, when we're taking our grandkids there, or when our great grandkids are going there with our children, it will be more clear, and certainly it won't look like it looks today, right?
Right. It'll be updated. It'll be changed, and they'll have fun with it just like we did as kids, and like as our kids are having fun with it now. So no, they're not going to retcon everything at Galaxy's Edge. I mean, I hope that I guess haven't changed that theme from the beginning. So I mean, it's will they update it? Absolutely. Will they retcon it? No. I mean, what I expect to see, I honestly do expect to see that is that they'll absolutely do some alterations to the sequel trilogy. And why will they do that? Because there's going to be some inevitable questions that arise out of the Filoniverse, as it were, that is working toward it. I mean, I have my issues with it, but I mean, that's, and I don't think they thought through them. I think that, I think the same thing is true with the prequels. There was issues with it. It wasn't fully thought through. And what happened, Filoni and Lucas looked at those problems, and Filoni said, okay, George, let me, I'll do the best I can to write and create the same way that I did when I was working with, the same people with Avatar. I mean, so The Last Airbender, which is by means one of the best animated series ever. And so he did that, and then came on with George and worked, to create the Clone Wars and absolutely, fix a lot of the problems that people had with the prequel trilogy. And it worked for most people, unless you were really into the Clone Wars multimedia project, and then they completely retconned and threw away everything, and and people got all pissed about that. So I mean, it's you can't please everybody, but what they do is they look at what are we going to lose, and so like I mean, and so I think that's where we're going to go. So I think the calculations were when Kathleen Kennedy took over. I mean, it was the decision to go the direction they went, and the way it was written and the way it was done was a business decision. Yeah. So I think they literally thought that they were writing a really good series. They brought on, and I actually think that the fault, if you're going to blame anybody for the fault of the sequel trilogy, it's not Rian Johnson. It's actually J.J. Abrams. And so he sat down, they threw out some pieces they probably should have kept, wrote a piece of something that was too close to the original New Hope, and really just the original trilogy, and the hopes to, a soft reboot kind of thing. And I think that's a true statement. And And so he laid some conditions inside there that just weren't answered with this mystery box aspect. And people had a lot of expectations coming out of that I don't think anybody could have fully answered with that and still had freedom to create.
Yeah.
So I think Ryan Johnson had some freedom, but he had to literally say, I'm going to, if he wanted to write it the way he was going to write it, he had to ignore some of those mystery boxes and expectations that it set up,
right,
in order to tell it the way he felt it should be told. Now, that said, I mean, I think it could have been enclosed same way as that, and then left a little more freedom and a little less expectation for Ryan. I think maybe people would have accepted some things better. But it would have set him up in a different position too, and I think that would have been a better situation to be in. And I just think that if the where the blame lies is right off at the beginning, and if I have a complaint with Kathleen Kennedy, and I think this runs through her entire time while she's been there at Lucasfilm, is that she does not do well with pre-production. She just trusts people to run with it, and I think that comes from her experience with such exquisite examples of directors and producers that she worked with.
Well,
that's my take on that.
Yeah, I mentioned before. George Lucas was making stuff up as he went, and you mentioned she worked with Lucas. She worked with shoot, why did I just draw a blank? The guy did
Spielberg. She worked with Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg and Lucas,
Mm-hmm.
and those guys are brilliant. And I just don't think Lucasfilm had a culture of having these really well developed stories before they jumped in. So, Park Outdoors, KBK, Claus versus Kyle. On these character things, they really do have some funny scripts and lines that they say. And I didn't think quick enough because I went here right after The Force Awakens. Last Jedi hadn't happened yet. And he mentioned some stuff. And I didn't jump into my Santa personality quick enough, or I should have told him, if you don't behave, you're not going to get any Darth Vader merchandise for Christmas. That's all there is. I would have given him a hard time. So it's fun. XR Coon McClunky, FTW, changed my mind. Burke's back. Welcome back.
Ho, ho, ho. Somebody's upset that their super weapon was broken this year.
Coruscant would be tough to do in a theme park just because it's so heavy. Comic book steals and deals. Welcome. Yeah, it's too complex to make, right? And Mike Porter, I saw your comment before. Give me a ride where I can free fall into a Sarlacc pit. There you go.
What I could see if they were doing something is that they could do a Indiana Jones style thing that they do because they have that live thing on the Hollywood Studios. I could see them redoing the Return of the Jedi aspect with Boba Fett. And then having the aspect where Boba Fett climbs out of it at the end, and that's the end of the whole story. I actually think that'd be pretty cool. Actually,
so Mike, we got to pick it up. We're way behind on comments. Mike Porter said roller coaster through a big dragon. There is a dragon ride over at Universal, so you could have a crate dragon roller coaster ride.
You could. That would be cool. I would do that. I mean, that would surround the whole thing. But I mean, like I said, there's space over there. I mean, I just don't see them building anything in the near future.
Yeah. Jeff Johns isn't involved with the Rogue Squadron. Right. And I think that was a part of it. Yep. Right. She wants to do the best fighter pilot movie ever. Yeah. I very well look forward to that. Right.
Maybe it'd be like Top Gun with
it could be great. Oh, guys, some news about Kevin Feige produced Star Wars movie just broke. So somebody's going to have to tell me about that. I've been talking with Imagic Maker here. I'll have to look. Park Outdoors, hatchable frog eggs that you eat. I think it could be a shell. Well, they could, I don't know. They could do a gelatin kind of thing. where you could pop these little gelatin eggs.
Well, that's what I was saying. You take just a drink cup with bulbas in it. Those little fruit juice little pieces.
Yeah.
You get them for toppings for your ice cream all the time. So the little bulbas in it. It's a
Some
drink.
corn chowder.
Yes.
You pull down the little thing and blurp it into a bowl. Porg exhibit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got porgs everywhere.
No, they have porgs everywhere there. It's a little sickening, actually.
Hey, thanks, Burke the Nerd. Encouraging giving some likes on the stream. Appreciate it. Thank you. Can we get a floating Grogu go through the park? On a tram. I'm absolutely sure they'll do something where it kind of hides the mechanisms underneath, and you'll end up with the child and Din going through the park. Absolutely certain that'll happen.
Hey, has anyone noticed something that I know it's obvious that the Grogu's in a little egg thing, but Yoda had an egg ship in the Revenge of the Sith. I've never seen anybody make that connection.
Huh. Probably because I keep picturing him in R2 in the Clone Wars animated series.
Right.
So, Fanjecture, welcome. Thanks for the news. Breaking news: Loki creator tapped to write Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie per deadline. Ooh, so that's a reliable deadlines.
Yep. I'm looking at it too. It says just in Michael Waldron, writer of Doctor Strange and the Multi-Universe of Madness, as head writer of the Loki series, is writing a new Star Wars movie being developed by Marvel chief Kevin Feige.
Awesome. Yeah, Jawa's running around trying to pickpocket. Oh.
Jawas are there already, actually. So that's they're in the launch pad. Remember?
Oh, okay.
We got tons of pictures with the Jawas.
Yeah. Is there expectation for an augmented reality edition? There's already some augmented reality where you use your phone and an app, and there are things you can unlock. You can read some of the writings and get secrets and kind of interact with the Galaxy's Edge.
Yep, that's true. I said I really only had one complaint the entire time I was at Galaxy's Edge, and it was not the lines, because that was expected. And my only complaint is that when you're looking at the menu, is they actually say chicken on the menu, on the main title of the menu. I wanted it to be underneath in the description of what you're eating. So I wanted to say, porg on a stick, and then say roasted chicken with da 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 da.
Walking monkey.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to say. I didn't want it to tell me in the title that it was actually chicken. That's my only complaint.
Welcome back, Tim, and your other account, Everyday Geeks. So very good. Have the 501st show up, right? All they have to do is have these people show up at Black Spire on screen, and it's done. Right? It's so simple, really, really simple. Let's see. Loki and Doctor Strange 2 are most anticipated Marvel stuff, so it is exciting. Oh, that's very exciting. Thanks for coming over here and filling us in on that, Fanjecture. Appreciate it, Adam. Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really appreciate the support. That's great. Can we have all the Star Wars characters walk through? Yes. So that's what we're saying, Mike, right? Like if they were to put it on screen and contextualize it where Black Spire is crosses these, they could set apart parts of the day and have different characters come through and reenact little things, little skits in between. Wu-Tang Wells, hello. Did you hear about the sale at the mall? Everything is half off. Ooh, very funny. Oh, that's terrible. Galaxy's Edge is almost 2 years old. Yeah.
I would have to say that if there was a mistake, in my opinion, that they made when they first made Galaxy's Edge, it was creating it in a world that had not hit the screen, and so I would, and that's why I think a lot of people expected like that to be in the the Rise of Skywalker, and of course it never showed up. So I mean, that was, to me, that's kind of shocking that they didn't put it on, and haven't seen it. We haven't seen it in a visual media yet. I'm actually quite shocked about that.
Yeah, me too. I expected any moment, and I expected in all of them. To be honest, Mike Porter, Disney World doesn't have Marvel Land. That's because it's over at Universal, and I don't know when those rights are released. You go over to Universal,
they will never be released.
Yeah,
so
Universal.
They bought them forever.
Yeah, they've got the Hulk ride and Spider-Man, and those characters show up over there. Captain America, all of them. So yeah, Disney missed out on that. They own the Marvel license, but I don't know that. I don't know that license will ever be relinquished for Disney to take it. Disney likes the divide because it keeps the noise. Well, XR Coon, that's not entirely untrue, right? They constantly keep in the news because people are constantly talking about their properties, and that's a good thing. These are exciting times, Tim. Absolutely.
There's something.
Reefer Man, I love the sequels, flaws and everything. Me too. I love Star Wars, flaws and everything. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no such thing as bad advertisement, Dale. JJ wasn't original. Ryan was too original. They had too much to say about opinions destroy the lore. Well, I don't want to go too far down that track. We've already gone an hour. I just want to get through. But
that's me overstepping my bounds.
There's a lot to go. Yeah, a Magic Maker needed to get some things off his chest, so I let him go. Thanks. Patricia had to go. Splash Mountain, only a sand slide into the Sarlacc pit. Oh, there you go.
Now, I could see some definite rides coming about that. I mean, there'd be fun. There's some fun things you could do. Definitely with new rides. I mean, I would definitely love to see, a TIE fighter ride or an X-wing ride, where you could actually get in the X-wing and it moves, and those are all sorts of things. Those all would be a lot of fun.
Dale Urban, macaroons and frog eggs right before the Razor Crest ride. Like, yeah, those $12 macaroons.
and they would be. They would.
Oh yeah, no question. You go on the ship from the Heiress and you're given frog eggs to help with seasickness. Jonathan Velasquez, hey there, welcome. I finished my final. Oh, there you go. It only counts if it boosts my grade. Oh, that's not too bad, XR. Actually, one of those no penalty finals. So it can only raise your grade; it can't lower it. My daughter had a couple of those last year as well. She liked this. Oh, dropped her phone and picked up and deleted some messages. That's okay, Gray. There were a lot more tie-ins from Park to screen, including some small solo details. Park debuted around the same time as Solo. Right, I just think Black Spire needs to show up on screen, and they can cash the checks.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I think they just have to show it, and they're going to have to show it a couple of times. It's got to be a repeated location like Tatooine is.
Yeah.
It's got to begin to resonate.
Yeah. Disney's developing Avengers Academy set at the California park. Yeah, I've heard about the Avengers Academy. It's actually not just at the California one. I think it's over in Europe. Disney World or Disneyland Europe, and maybe over in Japan. This Avengers Academy, they've got that going.
I think they have some leeway with certain characters like Thor and Iron Man, and of course Hawkeye and Natasha Romanoff with Black Widow. I think some of the others are already taken out as far as that, but I mean I think that's what they'll do. They'll do in some of these other ones. So I haven't seen Scarlet Witch in any of the stuff at Universal Studios either.
It's Gray accidentally got some of Dale's messages, so I think he's good to go now. Sorry about that. Those things happen. So I think we're in a complete agreement. Just to kind of wrap it up and close for the day. Galaxy's Edge is here to stay. It's largely going to stay a sequel the Rise of the Resistance ride is not likely to get rethemed anything else. Rise of the Resistance will be Rise of the Resistance, and I think you brought up a really good point about the Smuggler's Run. There's no reason Smuggler's Run couldn't have additional runs added, and all you have to do is drop Hondo in to give a different introduction, and now you're going on a Mandalorian Smuggler's Run, right? And so, and then all the other part is what we were talking about. They just need to drop Black Spire into these other franchises, and they'll come right on through. Jonathan Velasquez, I don't know. They updated Star Tours, right? And they'll add a Mandalorian section to Star Tours eventually. Why not?
I think that's what they'll do. They'll put a ride inside Star Tours that's a Mandalorian aspect. I think so. What you're going after? I mean, should I kind of spoil the ride for Rutgers Run? I mean, or I won't, and because I want you to know what it is. But it's tied. It's not necessarily tied to the Resistance itself. So I mean, or the sequel trilogy. It's tied to other pieces of Disney lore, and so it can go any way. It'd be easy to drop other new stuff in the Smuggler's Run. I mean, it's absolutely just the same way they've done in Star Tours. I expect Rise of the Resistance to eventually do the same thing. They'll add multiple pieces in there.
Yeah. Anybody into the High Republic? I've started it. I'm on chapter 6, I think. So I
haven't started it yet. That'll be starting this weekend.
And so far, I'm enjoying it. It's fine. And so right, I do not think they're gonna. We talk about this term retcon all the time because it's being used as a way to talk about erase, right? So a lot of people say, "Oh, they're going to retcon the sequel trilogy," meaning they're going to erase the sequel trilogy, or they're going to retcon Galaxy's Edge, meaning they're going to remove the sequel trilogy from it. I don't think that Star Wars and retconning are synonymous,
right?
They constantly retroactively give context to things.
Right.
So that's what retcon is. It's a retroactive context. So Vader being Luke's father.
It's retroactive continuity is actually
continuity. Yeah. It's Vader being Luke's father started it all. And, and it goes on from there. There's lots that have been retconned throughout Star Wars, all the way to the beginning, to now. And
I don't consider the Vader's father aspect a retcon. I consider the explanation by certain point of view. Why didn't you tell me? That is a retcon.
Well, in the New Hope, he wasn't his dad.
No, absolutely, but there was nothing in it that contradicted it, other than to say that he killed your father, and then he said and then he gave that. Why didn't you tell me, Ben? It was clearly you lied to me, and that was clear inside Return of the Jedi. You lied to me, and that's what he said. Certain point of view.
I like Gray's voice to text. I started the Higher Public book. Higher Public.
Is that the higher ground portion of the High Republic?
I know that's voice to text, High Republic, and it just said it's Higher Public. Yeah. That's great, Gray.
It's over, Yoda. I have the high ground. The higher ground.
And we're in public. That's funny. Jonathan, you watched the viral video of the little girl going up to Ray and say they could retcon the ST at the park. Yeah, that's not going to happen, right? There's a lot of
it's not going to happen. I mean, this is wishful thinking.
Yeah, and so I think from a true Will Morgan, I stay high in public. So does Reefer Man. Is the only public I like to be in, right? So I knew Reefer Man would be on that.
You know what? The whole time I thought he was a refrigerator guy.
No. No, I think in true Star Wars fashion, there will be retcon, right? So retroactively, they'll give other continuity that allows the Black Spire to cross through all of these franchises or story arcs. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Mandalorian go to Black Spire. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rogue Squadron stop at Black Spire. Wouldn't be surprised to see Ahsoka stop at Black Spire. Wouldn't be, right? Like all these things I totally expect to happen within on screen so that the Galaxy's Edge can just, work on it. So Dale, reefer truck driver. Yeah, reefer man. He drives a reefer truck. That's a great. Gray, I walked away. Now everybody's poking fun at me. We couldn't help it, Gray. Your voice to text was priceless. So.
At least we're ending on a laugh, and we're happy the way Star Wars fans should be.
Right. We're not blaming you. We're blaming your voice to text.
It's perfect.
Right? So,
it is perfect.
Absolutely perfect way to end. And I think again we've had a great conversation today. It's healthy for us to talk about these kind of if you want to put it in that way, these are our predictions, right? We're not talking about leaks and rumors. We're not trying to instigate any feuds or fights. We're not trying to poke at anybody who's a fan of any part of Star Wars. We want to encourage your fandom. We want it to grow. Yeah. And so
and that's all parts of it. I mean, there's a reason why I support fan fiction. I mean, because it lets people put into Star Wars what they want. So, I know I try to keep everything PG, and things I work with is all, PG mostly. But I understand there's aspects that people want in Star Wars that just don't see and that meet what they desire to have out of things. And so, and I think that the more we suppress those things, the more we tell people that they don't belong. And I really can't abide by that.
No, I can't. And all the talk about retconning Galaxy's Edge, people are not using that term correctly. And I refuse to let them take ownership of that term.
Right. It's retroactive continuity, and that doesn't mean get rid of.
No, and that's exactly it. So there we go. How many of us know the interactive art installations the Game of Thrones guy made? It's called Meow Wolf. Don't know of it, Will. I don't know if that's a joke, if I should be laughing or not. I guess I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and end the stream today. Really appreciate all the support, everybody, for being here. And again, Imagic Maker, thank you for coming and being on today. I thought this would be the timing, it couldn't be better. So appreciate that as well. And tomorrow, I'm going to try to get up my toy unboxing review. On Friday, we've got this secret. I'm not going to show you guys. It's one of these characters that's on the back. I teased it once before. I'll bring this up so you guys can get the full. Right? It's one of these. It's one of these characters that are on the back. We're going to unbox it tomorrow. So there you go. All right.
And if I could have one opportunity to have a plug. So if you're into Star Wars fan fiction, by all means, please check out the video I put out today, because if you read it or if you are writing it, we want to pull you into our community, and we want you to be a part of it. And so please, there's a link. I think there'll be a link in this description. If you just go check it out, and we'd love to see you over there. And
yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I put a link to Reimagining Star Wars YouTube channel in the description here. Please go check that out. And he also has a Discord server where they do work on fan fiction and offer help to one another in writing fan fiction, improving your skills, and maybe working together on projects. So encourage you to go check out Imagic Maker, and this is a lot of fun. So you guys, we'll be talking at you again soon. Thanks so much, and until next time, Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye.